Everyone's attention here real quick. Everyone find a seat and whatnot. My name is Daniel Hetty, and I'm Vice President.
And I'm Ashley Moretti. I'm Chair of College Republicans. So glad to have you guys all here. Some of you guys I talked to via email and Hawk Week, so it's glad to see everybody, their faces, and those email people. Glad to see you guys too.
Basically, we're Republicans, and we want this to be kind of like a social group where we all do, not only volunteering for campaigns and not only, becoming friends, but also kind of a support group. I was thinking we should start off with saying, hi, my name's Daniel, I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
We're in Lawrence and we're outnumbered and we have to stick together. So it's one of the reasons we have this group. We have a pretty exciting semester coming up. Obviously it's election year. This semester through meetings we'll have lots of guest speakers. Got a big time guest speaker for our first meeting already.
Oh yeah, we wanted to have some social events like we said earlier. September 11th, I want to speak about this real quick. We are going to go on 4 buses, 5 towns for Brownback, which would be good. We also want to do a lot of volunteering for Kevin as well. His volunteer, these people will talk about volunteering as well. He opened an office here in Lawrence so that we can all volunteer for him.
I guess.
Oh.
All right. Can you introduce yourself?
Oh, sorry. I'm Caitlin Darris, and I'm the secretary.
We have Kevin here now, so now I guess we'll go ahead and have him come up and speak. We won't take up too much of his time, and we'll talk more after. So, yeah, go ahead.
Great, thank you. Well, thanks for coming tonight, everybody. I know is this the first meeting of the year? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great turnout. I know everybody's getting back to school, and I was a KU student here from '94 to 2002, so the 8-year plan. It's one way to go about things. I did the whole 8 years. Good time. People came and left, and I was still here. But really love Lawrence, love KU, and it was an amazing experience for me, and it really was a foundation for a lot of the leadership activities I've been in after college. So I'm just glad to see all of you here tonight and participating and being involved. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and a little bit about my campaign and what's going on, and then maybe how you can get involved, and certainly would be willing to take your questions and talk about the issues facing our country. As they said, I'm running, I don't know if they mentioned what, okay, that's all right. I'm Kevin Yoder, and I'm running for Congress for the 3rd District, which is all of Johnson County, all of Wyandotte County, and half of Douglas County. In fact, this right here is the 3rd District for Congress. Kansas has 4 congressmen. Does anybody know who they are right now? Test the political aptitude of the group. You know there?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Jerry Moran, Todd T. Hart, Dennis Moore, and Lynn Jenkins.
Got it. Okay, so we got 4 congressmen. How many people are here from the 3rd District that grew up here? About half the room. How many folks are from rural Kansas somewhere? Yeah, that's where I grew up in rural Kansas, actually near Hutchinson. For those usually Hutch High people on the crowd. But I live in Overland Park now with my wife Brooke, and I'm a lawyer. Got my law degree here from KU. And when I got out of college, I really wanted to get involved in politics, get involved in leadership, and I decided to run for the legislature and ran for the Kansas House. I've been a member of the Kansas House for the last 8 years, representing Overland Park and Leawood in the Kansas legislature, the last 2 years of which I've been chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. The House Appropriations Committee is in charge of the state's budget. It's about $13 billion. And so I've had the responsibility of handling that in the Kansas House. This last year, in about November, Dennis Moore, who's the current congressman for this area, he's a Democrat, decided he was going to retire and said that he's going to spend more time at home and kind of pass the torch to the next generation. So I said, hey, I'm the next generation. I'll step up and try to run. And so I threw my hat in the ring. Since November until August, we had the Republican primary. There were 9 of us in the Republican primary, if you can imagine. A 9-way primary. Anybody have a chance to vote in that primary? A few of you guys did? All right, good, all right. Thank you if you voted for me. If not, I need your help in the fall now as we go on against Stephanie Moore, who's Dennis Moore's spouse, in the race for this seat. If you followed anything in Washington, you know that Democrats currently control Congress. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. Republicans need 39 seats to take back the House. This is one of those seats the Republicans feel really good about taking back. Charlie Cook, maybe heard of Cook Political Report, it's a national political pundit. He has this race as a lean Republican seat. There are other pundits that are now saying this is a lean to likely Republican seat, that Republicans will pick this up. I think some of the national publications have listed this as one of the top 10 U.S. House races in the country, right here in the 3rd District. And so it's going to be a very difficult race. There's going to be a lot of money spent Ultimately, I think we can win this race, but we got to do it with support from a lot of people in this room. We got to get a lot of folks involved and active in our campaign because the issues matter. And I don't know how many of you paid attention to the daily goings in Washington, but they're spending a lot of money they don't have. They're spending your future. And in fact, the national debt right now is $13 trillion. That's like, when you get out of college, each one of you will owe $120,000 in back taxes to the federal government. Money that they've spent that you have yet to even earn. And while you're paying that back, you're going to have to pay for all the other burdens that are coming forward as the projections continue to grow, that in the next 6-7 years, we might be over $20 trillion in national debt. There is a limit to the debt that our country can sustain. And as a younger candidate, I'm 34, I look at the future and I'm very, very concerned. I'm worried that the prosperity that our forefathers, our parents and grandparents fought for to leave for us may not be there for the next generation. That the idea that you could get out of college, get a job, build a life for you and your family, that that's now threatened and in jeopardy because of the overspending and growth of the federal government. Every problem we have in our country, the politicians in Washington believe that they have a governmental solution. That if there's a problem out here, they can fix it in Washington with more spending, more federal employees, greater government bureaucracy, greater government growth. And all that does is it raises taxes and increases the debt burden on Americans. That's a huge problem we're going to be facing. Compounded with that problem is we have one of the highest unemployment rates in a generation. For now, a couple years in a row, the unemployment rate's been almost 10% in this country. That's staggering. People are getting out of college. Last year's college graduates are getting out, and they are not finding jobs. And that's because the economic policies in Washington are failing. They're broken, and they've got to change. Our campaign is one that believes that we can do better in the private sector than we can in the government sector. I believe very strongly. I grew up on a farm in rural Kansas, and I learned out there on the farm, probably what a lot of you learned in growing up, is that hard work and determination built this country. It wasn't the government building up this country, it was people. And when we got out and we built this country brick by brick, we built a better country for the next generation of Americans. That's now in jeopardy. And what we see in Washington is every time that's in jeopardy, they want to raise taxes, increase spending, and create more government bureaucracy and more government solutions. That's not working. In fact, in Kansas, you might be surprised that in the last year, we've lost thousands of private sector jobs. People are unemployed. You've probably seen this. Yet we grew public sector jobs. We cannot, think about this economically. Who pays the taxes that go into government? Taxpayers, private sector taxpayers, and government taxpayers, but the government employees. But it's the small business owners, and it's the folks out here that create their own drive, their own engine, that put a business together. They're the ones who are paying the bulk of taxes in this country. And as those people become unemployed, as businesses fail, there's less taxes to be paid, which increases the deficit. And when they hire more people, when they spend more money, that just makes the deficit even worse. And so we've got this inverse economic theory where we think we can grow the government while shrinking the private sector. You can't grow the outputs while decreasing the inputs. Those private sector employees are the ones who are fueling the economy and fueling that budget. And if you lose them while growing the outputs, you've got an upside down economy, and it's eventually going to cave in itself. This country's going to go bankrupt. And so this election is very important. For me, it's one of the most important elections of my lifetime, certainly one of the most important elections in your lifetime. We have an opportunity this year to send a message to Washington that we disagree with these policies, that we're tired of the 10% unemployment, that we're tired of the $13 trillion in debt, and that we believe in the people and not in government solutions to these problems. And this election on November 2nd is a very important way to send that message. We have 39 seats that Republicans need to pick up and gain, and this is one of those seats. Now, of those 4 that were mentioned here earlier, 3 of those 4 congressmen in Kansas right now are Republicans. This is the only Democratic seat. And so this is one where we can make a difference right here in Lawrence. We can make a difference with our votes, registering people to vote, by telling our friends and neighbors, by telling people down our hall, and getting them to get involved and engage, because it does matter to their future. When you get out of school, you're going to want to have a job. And you're not going to want to depend on the government borrowing from the future to create that job for you. You're going to want to know that there are private sector jobs out there that businesses are hiring. To do that, we've got to get the economy going. I need your help to get there. We're going to campaign very hard. The election's in exactly 9 weeks from today. So 63 days from today, voters around this district in Lawrence and Wyandotte County and Johnson County are going to go to the polls and select the next congressman for this area. I think my approach is a new, fresh approach, and one that speaks to the heart of what it means to be a Kansan and to be American. But we need support to get there. You have a great commodity of students. You know, I was a KU student here for, like I said, for 8 years, back in '94. And I will tell you, in those days, I didn't really know the value that I could bring to a campaign.